Hello guys, and welcome again to the Sales and Leadership channel. I'm Paul Heslop, founder of TheBig4 and Elliott Browne. Now today we're going to be doing a few videos, and this particular video is going to be the first steps into leadership or managing a team. There's going to be some more videos to follow, but this one is going to be, okay, I've got the opportunity to take over a team, or I'm going to be taking over a team, or in the future that's something I want to look at. What are the first steps you can take to make sure that's a very smooth transition into a management or a leadership role? The first thing you got to think about when you've got the opportunity to lead is, do you actually want to be a manager? Do you want to be a leader? Now, the reason I say that, and I've seen it so many times in recruitment, this happens an awful lot, is you've got a fantastic sales guy, someone, and when I say guy, I mean guy and girl, by the way. But you've got a fantastic sales guy who's got amazing figures, and you think that person could manage, and they think the next step for them is actually managing. And what you tend to find is when you've got a business, people need to feel like there's progression. When they don't feel this progression, they're going to be looking around, and quite a lot of the time people think the next logical step for them is to move into a leadership role, which could be the right thing, but I've seen it so many times within our business where someone's ended leadership, not really thought about what leadership is, and 6 months later or a year later, they're like, I really wish I'd not ended management. So when you're thinking about being a leader, you've got to remember there's going to be some brutal, hard decisions you're going to have to make. A lot of the time, you're there to solve problems, and it's very hard, in fact, it's impossible to solve a hard problem with an easy decision. It doesn't happen. So when you make hard decisions, someone's not going to be happy about it and you're going to look like the bad guy. But as long as you're making clean decisions with the right principles and the values, that's what you got to do. But if you're taking over a team with you've got friends in that team, they're not going to be happy with you. Are you going to be okay being the perceived bad guy when making hard decisions? Because you're going to have to do that. Are you the sort of person that needs constant credit and recognition? Because if that's you, again, when you're in leadership, it can be quite lonely. The only thing you should take credit for or take responsibility for is when the team doesn't perform. When the team's not doing well, it's your fault, 100% your fault. When the team's doing really well and smashing out great figures, or whatever the measurements are for the team that you're managing, it's all of the team. So can you handle that? Do you have a little bit of an ego? If the ego's in you, it's going to be really hard for you to potentially start leading a team. So think about that very carefully. Just picture yourself, if you're a top salesperson, it's continuously recognition, your name's and highlighted on the boards. Can you then take the step into leading where everything is about your team and about them being successful? Do you get a real kick when you see someone get promoted? Do you get a buzz when you see someone get a huge bonus? Or have you got a little bit in you thinking, oh, I wish that was me? Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you've really got to think about this, because managing a business or managing a team, it's a huge responsibility. You're looking after people's careers, and I would not take that lightly. So first of all, make sure leadership is the thing for me. Now, if you're missing the progression part, speak to speak to people within your business. It doesn't necessarily mean because leadership isn't for you that there's no progression within a company. The progression could be you are going to lead a topic, you're going to lead a project, there's something within the business that needs an owner, and that could be progression, something to get your teeth into. But step number one, I can't emphasize this enough, you've got to make the decision, do you really want to lead, do you really want to manage? You've got to really want that, you've got to love it. And because you don't really see the rewards unless the right decisions and the right values are being compounded over a long period of time. And when you do that over time, you will definitely reap some huge rewards, but it's not going to be quick, it's not going to be fast. And what I find quite amusing for us is when we sometimes have guys coming through the business and then saying, I want to manage because I want a better work-life balance, or I want to do less work, or I don't want to do the hands-on work. That's not really the mentality you need when you're going to be managing someone. It's going to be much harder work, much more responsibility, and it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a different type of challenge to what you got before. So first thing is, do Do you really want to manage? Are you sure? Test yourself. Speak to your best friend. They'll know you pretty well. Test, are you the sort of person who would want to manage a team? Now that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You could be excellent at something else, but is leadership for you? Where are we now? What's the starting point? Because there's no point in pointing for a huge goal and setting loads of systems in motion if you don't know where you're starting from now. And John Maxwell, probably the best leadership coach in the world, would always say a big part of leadership is define reality. Now, you can define reality on a hunch, and it's also really good to use your gut instinct, but what you need to do is really define reality with some data. So let's say, for example, you're taking over a new team. Let's analyze the figures of that person, understand really, are they doing very well? What are their weaknesses? Get as much statistical analysis, if you've got that information, as possible. So you'd be very surprised, I have this a lot. You have certain perceptions on who's doing really well in the business, who's not doing well, but actually when you look at the data and the revenue figures and the facts, it can be quite different to what you think. So if you're going to be managing a team with a preconceived idea that isn't correct on a data perspective, you're going to be making the wrong calls and you're going to have the wrong starting point. So first of all, define reality, understand everything about the team and the business, historical data, gather as much data points as you can. Then you might also think, I know the team very well. I know Dave, I know Susan extremely well. I don't need to ask them loads of questions. Wrong approach. Don't assume anything when you're leading a team. You want to sit down with each individual, understand how they're feeling, what motivates them, what do they want to achieve, how's things been going in the business, what's their views on the business, have they got a very clear view on what the vision is of the company, do they have no idea why they're actually working for the team, is the vision not clear enough for them, has it not been communicated, what do they want to achieve in the next 6 months, 12 months, how do they like to be acknowledged, are they the sort of person that likes to be up on the big screen with everyone knowing their sales figures, or are they the sort of person that would just like to say, hey John, you're doing a great job, I'd love to take you out for lunch. Understand the mechanisms and what makes a team click and tick. And once you've got that, that's really going to give you some tangible data to help you drive and push the team forward. The next part you got to realize is what we call, when I say we, I'm actually stealing this off John Maxwell, it's called the leadership lid. Have you heard of that before, the leadership lid? What it means is that the leader is the cap or the limitation on any team. So if the leader is an 8 out of 10, good. The team's only going to be a 7, more likely to be a 6. So what you've got to realize is your limitations, your mindset is going to limit the team and therefore limit the careers of the people that you're going to be looking after. So first thing you need to do is almost empty your head of all the preconceived ideas you've got about the business, the market, and if you were Grant Cardone, you'd say you want to 10x your mindset. And I would probably agree with that, maybe 10 could be too much, but it's in the right direction. Let's say, for example, you are going to be taking over I don't know anything about software sales, but I imagine if I was going to take over a software sales team, let's say it's Salesforce, I would be analyzing data. I'd want to get the macro information about the markets. How many customers are there? How much spend is there in the market? How many sales have we done previously? And we actually have this a lot with our team here. Normally the guys go from being a salesperson and then you give them little pieces of responsibility. You don't want to just, ideally, another thing as well, if you are leading a team and looking to bring other people into management, start testing them with little extra bits of responsibility. Maybe it's taking a team meeting, maybe it's doing some forecasting, but ease people in. It's not great just to throw them into leadership and say, hey, now you got the team. That's actually a side focus. But what you want to do is get the macro, but in that example, is the guys are coming from a market and they've got a very rigid and fixed idea about how that market operates and what's possible to customers. So what I always tell the guys you've got a completely empty mindset, get some data behind you. If you think there's €1 million revenue a month in that market, times it by 5, times it by 10, because unless your mindset is way bigger than the guys in the team, you're already putting limitations on your team, on the business. So try and empty that and really raise the bar when it comes to your mindset. There's going to be more videos to come. Once you've got that in place, what are the next steps? And we'll be covering that in later videos. So if you like what you see, hopefully you do, click subscribe and there'll be some more videos to come. But thank you very much for listening. Hope everyone has a fantastic day and a fantastic week. And we'll see you on the Sales and Leadership channel very soon. Thank you.